Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Starting the Day Right. No, what? Starting the Day the Right Way. 5-minute devotion for September 2nd, 2020. All right, I'm still waking up, so bear with me a little bit. So, getting right into it. We have a saying in our house when we're talking to our son and we're asking him to do a couple of things, and he delays it a little bit. So we got two sayings. We have "Don't delay the obey," right? And then the second saying that we have is, are you going to do your list or are you going to do mom and dad's list? And more often than not, he'll do mom and dad's list, but every so often he'll test. And like last night, I had told him to, get ready for bed. Whatever he was watching was the last show, and to go upstairs. And so he went upstairs, went to the bathroom, started brushing his teeth, but then it was taking a little bit longer than I expected. So I called up to him. I said, you all done? And he said, almost. And then I heard him on his tablet, and he was watching the TV show that I told him not to. So when I went up there, I said, what's going on? He's like, well, I'm just watching this. I said, is that the right heart? Or is that what I asked you to do? And he's like, no. I said, all right. I said, put it away, finish getting ready for bed and whatnot. So, but it's just interesting. And then even as adults, we try to do things that we know God has already told us not to do, but we want to push the limits to see how far we can do it, right? So that leads me to this portion of scripture, and it comes from Genesis, and I'm going to give you the New Living Translation as well as the Message. So the New Living Translation comes from chapter 4, verses 21 through 23. And it says, this is talking about Abraham's two children. Okay, so verse 21 says, tell me, you who want to live under the law, do you know what the law actually says? The scriptures say that Abraham had two sons, one from his slave wife and one from his freeborn wife. The son of the slave wife was born in a human attempt to bring about the fulfillment of God's promise, but the son of the freeborn wife was born as God's own fulfillment of his promise. The Message puts it this way. Tell me now, you who have become so enamored with the law, have you paid close attention to that law? Abraham, remember, had two sons, one by the slave woman, one by the free woman. The son of the slave woman was born by human convenience. The son of the free woman was born by God's promise. This illustrates the very thing that we are dealing with now. The two births represent two ways of being in relationship with God. Okay, now if you don't know the story, back in Genesis, Abraham had a promise from God that he would have descendants as many as the stars in the sky, but he was also getting old. Not back then, it wasn't old because people lived longer than they do today, but he was in his 80s and he had not yet had a son. And after this promise, his wife Sarah was unable to get pregnant, so she suggested to him to have relations with her maidservant Hagar, and Abraham agreed, and she got pregnant. Hagar got pregnant, and they had a son, Ishmael. That was not the promise that God was talking about. But man tried to push God's hand and help God's hand, right? Because God needs our help. And what ended up happening is what they had a son, Ishmael. 13 or so years later, okay, the promise that God was referring to, Sarah ended up getting pregnant and they ended up having a son. And that was the son in which God was going to bring about an inheritance. Okay. But what I want you guys to think about is how often in our lives, when we are just so impatient and we maybe we have a word that God has said to us, and certain things are going to come about from that word, but it's not actually coming about yet. And we start thinking maybe God forgot, or maybe God needs some help, and we start doing things. I want to let you guys know, don't do it, right? Even though we all have, don't do it, okay? Wait on God. God's promises are the best. And when we try and help God, things usually get muddled up. All right. So if you have a word and it hasn't come to pass yet, press in on that word. Talk to God about it. Okay. Press in on him. Trust him that he knows what he's doing, that he has the best plan possible for us and to bring about his glory. Okay. So like we tell our son, are you doing your list? Are you doing our list? So God is asking you today, are you doing your list? Are you doing my list? All right, guys. Hope this was a blessing. Have a great day, and we'll be back with you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.